Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus Dominion painting tutorial for the Kruleboyz, and today we are painting the Murknob with Belcha-banner. He's a really interesting, really cool model, and well, without further ado, we're going to jump right in and start painting him. Now, he's been primed in Grey Seer, as this gives him a much colder, dirtier, swampier look than the Wraithbone would, but if you want to use Wraithbone, he'll come up with a warmer finish, but it'll still look excellent regardless. So, we're going to start off with the flesh, and the colour we're going to be using is a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Ogryn Camo and Militarum Green. And what we want to do is we want to take that mix on our brush, and we just want to pick a place to start. Now I'm going to start on his face, I think. Yeah, we'll start around here. We just want to get this colour all over. And you just want to be careful with how much you've got on your brush, because you don't want this to be too dark. You just want to use small amounts and just move that paint around so you get a nice even finish like I'm getting here. So just take your time and don't overload your brush when you go to your palette. Just move the paint out of those recesses using the tip of your brush. Just be very gentle with the model. And basically, you just want to get this all over all of his flesh. And we've got a fair amount of it on his face, obviously. His entire face is green. Don't know why I said that. You've got his arms, you've got his feet, and you've got little bits of it just in there under his armpits as well. And just make sure that you get all the way around. So I've just got a little bit there that I've missed, like so. There we go, that's his whole face done. So we'll just move on now, and we'll start painting in the arm and the hand. And with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some Plaguebearer Flesh. And we'll use that all over the top of the skin that we just painted with that 1-to-1 mix. Just like this. And with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use a roughly 2 parts Wyldwood to 1 part Gore-Grunta Fur mix. And we're going to use this all over his clothes. And he's got quite a few clothes. So we're just going to start painting this all over like this. And this 2 parts Wyldwood to 1 part Gore-Grunta Fur mix gives you that perfect shaded Thondia brown colour, which is one of the newer base paints from Games Workshop, specifically designed for the Kruleboyz. However, we're not using Thondia brown because we do Contrast Plus round here. So we just want to get this all over like this. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Wyldwood and Black Templar. I'm going to use this to paint in the strings and his little pouches. So we've got this little area here. We're going to paint this over like so. And it comes up to there. We've got this one here. Goes up to there like that. And then of course we've got the pouches here on the back. Here is one, the other one's there, very prominently. And then we've got these areas down here on the back of his legs. And with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some Blood Angels Red. And we're going to use this to colour in the large face on the Belcha-banner, as well as his tummy armour. So basically, as I've been referring to this throughout Dominion, the face armour. So we're taking this Blood Angels Red on our brush, and what we're going to do is we're just going to pick a place to start. I'm going to start down here on the belly. I'm going to paint this Blood Angels Red all over the armour panel. Just like this. And with that done, just whilst we wait for it to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Magos Purple. I'm going to paint this over the tongue. And with that done, what we're then going to do is add another layer of Magos Purple. And we're going to add this over the top of that tongue. Just to really kind of get that darker pink, well, purple that we're after. And with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some Fire Dragon Bright. And we're going to use this to highlight that tummy armour and the banner. And the reason we're doing this now is because we want to add a glaze over the top that really pulls all the colours together. But we can't do that after we've done the metallics. Because the metallics are, well, they're on these sections as well. And we don't want to make life difficult for ourselves by adding the glaze all over the top and then having to redo bits of metallic. So we're doing this bit now. By just picking out all of the edges in amongst all of these armor pieces that are red. And with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to make a roughly 6 parts contrast medium to 1 part Flesh Tearers red mix. And we're going to use this, as I said, as that glaze over the top to tie that highlight in and to just really enrich the colour of that red. So I'm just going to start down here on the belly. You want to be dead careful here with how much you've got on your brush because it's very runny. You just need small amounts and just be very careful. You don't accidentally run this all over the top. That lovely brown you've already painted in. Like that. So again, just a small amount. I'm just going to very carefully paint this all over the top. Up here as well. It's not so much of a biggie up here, just because we haven't done many of the details around here, but you still want to be a little bit careful so as you don't overload any of these details. So with that done, what we're now going to do is going to make a roughly 6 parts contrast medium to 1 part Wyldwood mix. And we're going to use this on our wood areas. Now these are going to include areas like the sword handle, just down here. Like that. You just want to be careful with how much you have on your brush because you don't want this to be too dark. Going for that lovely, almost Rakarth flesh tone that you get when you thin down Wyldwood this much. Like so. And what we're also going to do is we're going to use this over the top of the banner pole. Like so. Just be very careful to make sure you don't miss any bits. A little bit in there. And a little bit in there. Like that. And lastly, what we're going to do, we're going to use this Rakarth fleshy mix. Well, it's not Rakarth flesh, it's Wyldwood, you get it. I'm going to use it on the head down here. So with that Wyldwood mix applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Gryph-Charger Grey and we use this to paint in this head just here. We just want to avoid his beard. Like so. And don't forget to obviously bring it all the way around. Don't forget to paint in his ears as well. And his mouth. And with that done, I'm then going to take some Apothecary White and use this to paint in his beard down here. Like that. What we're also going to do is we're going to use this Apothecary White to paint in this hand up here. And with that done, we're then going to take some Skeleton Horde and we're going to use this to paint in the skull. And so with that skull painted in, we're then going to take some Guilliman Flesh. I'm going to paint in our last head, which is just here. And with that done, we're now going to take some Black Templar. I'm going to use this to colour in the hair on this head down here and also on the head up here as well. So with that done, it's now time to move on to painting all of the metallics. Now the first one we're going to use is Iron Warriors, and this is going to be for all of our silver details, and there's quite a few of them on the Murknob. So we've got areas like down here on his leg armour, just like this. We've got his weapon. And with all of that Iron Warriors applied, you should have a Murknob that looks something like this. So what we're going to do now is going to paint in that other metallic, and the colour that we're going to be using is Runelord Brass. We're going to be painting in areas such as this face shield here, like so. We've got the one just below it here as well. We've also got this little back plate here. So with that done, all of our base coats are now on. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some shades, and the first one we're going to add is Fyreslayer Flesh. And this is going to be over the top of all of our Runelord Brass. So just want to take a small amount of this on our brush, as it goes quite a long way when you use just a little bit over the Runelord Brass. You just want to get it all over, just like that. One thing I forgot to mention, even as I was joking that I would probably forget to mention something, is that I've also painted in the eyes of all of our face armor, red parts. So here, here, and here, and here and here, with Runelord Brass as well. And with that done, we're then going to take some Basilicanum Grey. I'm going to use this to shade all of our silver. Just like this. So with that done, all of our base coats and shading are now applied to the model, and this is what I would call Warhipster battle ready. And he already looks fantastic, but we are going to take him to the next level. And the colour we're going to be using first is Ogryn Camo. I'm going to be using this as a highlight for all of his flesh. So we've got some thin down on our palette here, and what we're going to do, just going to start highlighting all of his skin. Now the only place we're not going to highlight is his bottom lip, because that's going to be a slightly different colour. So for now, you just want to do the rest of it by just picking out all of the edges . Oh, I've already highlighted that bottom lip. It doesn't matter if you do. Just don't spend too much time on it. Just got carried away with my edge highlighting. I do love it so. And with that done, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Terradon Turquoise. And we're going to paint this over the top of his bottom lip and around his eyes. Just paint this like this. And then similarly, take a tiny amount on this brush. I'm going to paint that over the top of the eyeball and the bottom eyelid, like that. And with that done, We then want to take a tiny amount of Gauss Blaster Green. We want to add these little dots on the raised bumps. Of his bottom lip. Like that. Now what we can also do is just add a little highlight to those bottom eyelids. Like that. And so with that Gauss Blaster Green applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take a tiny amount of Evil Sunz Scarlet. I'm going to use this to paint in the eyeball on his left, our right. We're not going to do it on his other eye. Just want to do it there, like that, because this eye has been chopped. So we're going to do something else for that. So with that Evil Sunz Scarlet applied to that eye, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Screaming Skull, and we're going to use this in two places. Firstly, we're going to use this to highlight the skull hanging down here. But what we're also going to do is we're going to use this Screaming Skull to pick out his teeth. Like that. And like that. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to use some thinned down Pallid Witch Flesh. I'm going to use this in a number of different places. So the first thing we're going to do is going to take a teeny amount of Pallid Witch Flesh on our brush. We're just going to very, very carefully paint in his damaged eye. Just there. Like that. Similarly, what we're going to do is going to take a tiny amount of Pallid Witch Flesh. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our skin that is on the dead faces. So we've got this unfortunate chap down here. I'm just going to pick out all of these edges for. I'm also going to pick out his eyes too, as well, like that. Like that. Similarly, on this unfortunate chappie, I'm going to use this Pallid Witch Flesh to pick out his facial features as well. And on the hand up here. And on this gentleman just here as well. Like so. What we're also going to do is going to use this Pallid Witch Flesh to highlight our kind of Rakarth fleshy type areas, otherwise known as the wood that we originally did with that thinned down Wyldwood mix. Like that on the sword handle, but also very similarly down here on the banner pole itself. Just picking out the edges in the grain of the wood. So with that done, what we're then going to do is use a tiny dot of Black Templar. I'm going to use this as a little dot right in the middle of all of the kind of dead face's eyes. Just like that. And with that done, what we're now going to do is going to use some blood for the blood god. I'm going to use this in a couple of places. So one, got some drips forming down here from the tongue. We're going to use this on. Like that. We're also going to use it in any stumps. So we've got one here. Like that. We've got one here like that. And we've got one under this pale face as well. We can just kind of overlap onto the edge a little bit. Like that. We've got some drips forming underneath this head. It's clearly the freshest. Here and here. Like so. And then what we also want to do is we want to add a little bit of this under this guy's nose. And just streak it down a bit. And just build it up a little bit more up here. Coming down his teeth as well. Like that. And with that blood for the blood god applied, well, our faces are all very nearly finished. However, what we are going to do now is we're going to use some Dawnstone. Now this only applies to the faces because we're going to be highlighting the hair here and up here as well. However, we are going to be using this Dawnstone to highlight all of the rest of our kind of slightly darker details, including areas such as the string here. Like so. And with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Steel Legion Drab. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our brown cloaks. Just picking out all the little edges, all the little tears. Just like this. And with that done, what we're now going to do is going to highlight some of those metallics, and starting with the silver, and the colour we're going to be using is Iron Hand Steel. I'm just going to start down here on the weapon. I'm just going to start picking out all of the edges. With that Iron Hand Steel all applied, what we're now going to do is going to take some Sycorax Bronze. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our Runelord Brass areas. So with that done, our Murknob is very nearly finished. We've just got a couple of things left to do. And the last kind of set of, well, required highlights, as it were, is to take some thinned down Slaanesh Grey. I'm going to use this to highlight the tongue. With that Slaanesh Grey applied, what we then want to do is take a tiny amount of Pallid Witch Flesh. We just want to apply it to the very tip. Just like that. So with that done, our Murknob is pretty much finished and he looks fantastic. There is just one last little optional detail that we're going to do, and that is to add a little bit of verdigris. Now, we've been doing this all along with the Dominion set using the contrast paints, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So we're going to take a little bit of Terradon Turquoise and just in certain little tiny areas. So for example, around here on the shield, just going to add a little bit of this Terradon Turquoise like that. And we're going to add a little bit of it kind of up here in this little divot as well. Add some there. And we'll add a little bit just there as well. Similarly on this like kind of smaller one. A little bit there. A little bit there. And then on these kind of studs we'll add some there. And we'll add some on this big one just here as well. Like so. You can obviously add as much or as little of this as you like. So for example, I'm just going to add a little bit more, I think, in there. With that Terradon Turquoise applied, what we then do is take some Gauss Blaster Green. We just add a little kind of blob of it in there. Like this. Like that. You just want to go around like that over all of these verdigris-ish parts that you've done. And so our Murknob with the Belcha-banner is finished, and he is an absolutely stunning piece of kit. I really, really, really like this. I can't describe it in words how much I'm into this, and it's so swampy and battered and gross and highly detailed and awesome and grim and dark and all of the words that you can use to describe this. It's just fantastic. I absolutely adore it, and yeah, I'm very, very pleased with how it came out. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these absolute bosses have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks, just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.